Hi everyone, my name is Peggy Ployhar and I'm the founder and CEO of SPED Homeschool, but I'm also part of the SPED Homeschool Review Crew, and I'm excited to share with you today a review of Exploring Economics from Notgrass History. So I'm going to go through a little bit of what I got in the box, but if you want to see the whole unboxing, make sure you check out that video. It's also in our Review Crew playlist. So I'm just going to go through, after a couple weeks of doing this curriculum with my daughter, who is a high schooler. I've got some feedback for you, some things I really like about this curriculum, some ways to modify it for a high schooler who may be a struggling learner, and then some takeaways just on our impressions of it and why we're going to use it next year as part of our homeschooling high school curriculum. So when you get the box, Notgrass History is so good to include some links for you, and on their website you'll find these too. But they walk through this curriculum with you, a whole unit. Ray Notgrass, who wrote this curriculum, walks you step by step through how to do an entire unit, what to look for, and what is in each of these books that come with it and how to use them. So those are included in the pamphlets that come in your box, but they're also on their website. So know if they just happen to be missing, or you happen to throw them out when you pick up your box and pull everything out, it's on their website at notgrasshistory.com. So first of all, I want to tell you about the parent guide. So not only do they just give you an answer key, but they walk through, because this is also, it's a half a credit of, well, you could do math, it could be counted as history, it could be counted as a lot of things, as economics, because there is a lot of history involved in this, as well as mathematics, and just understanding economics in our world. And so it's applicable math. It's not adding numbers, but it is understanding why prices and other things fall and increase and all of that. So, but also you can use this as a half credit of English. And what I love is that they teach you how to teach writing, how to grade the writing assignments, suggestions for grading, what's in the student pack, and then notes about the 4 books that are companions to this curriculum if you're doing the English portion. So so that's great. What I found, because we do a lot of audiobooks, my daughter tends to use them better than reading, is that I went on Audible and just thought, what can I buy with my credits? So one of the books that's included with this is completely free. It is in public domain, and so the audiobook is free. That's awesome. And then 2 of the other books, there were audiobooks in Audible. The 4th one was not available in an audiobook, so we are going to have to read that. But you do have the option, if you want the physical books. Notgrass already has them as an additional add-on, and you can purchase those as well through them, instead of having to go out and look and figure out where all those exist. So anyways, but they do have summaries for you in here as well as all the answers to the quizzes and everything else. So the next thing I want to tell you about is the student review. And my daughter and I did the section for the unit that we went through, but also at the beginning there's a note to parents talking about the quizzes. What is literary analysis, and how do you do that for fiction as well as nonfiction? Because the writing assignments in there will require that. And so this puts this in terms of how your student can understand what's being asked of them before they even start writing something. And then they give a literary analysis also of the books that they're going to be covering. So the student review book doesn't just include summary questions that you can discuss, but it also includes some really helpful information for your student. And my daughter thought that was extremely helpful for her, just knowing what's expected and how to do that. So the quizzes in general either are matching or fill in the blank. What the quizzes are written verbatim. word for word what is in the textbook. So there's no question as to, because my daughter sometimes gets confused as, do they mean this or do they mean that? Well, if the answer is written out exactly as it's written in the textbook, that's the answer. And it doesn't have to be interpreted as meaning something else. So that's good, especially for a child that is very literal, which mine is, and she wants to know that she got it right. And so that was really helpful, because she even said when we looked at this, she goes, well, I like the matching, but I'm not sure about the fill in the blanks because it could mean multiple things. And when I pointed it out to her, that in the textbook it was word for word what the answer was, where she filled in the blanks, she felt better about that. So that's something to note. We went through an entire unit, and the units start out, let me see if I can find the starting of a unit here in the book. And they start out with a summary, and this book has such great pictures to help your student engage with the material. It starts out by telling you what books you need to use throughout this week, and then talks about projects to do along with it and what a project to do it. There's writing projects, but there's also other types of projects. If your student tends to be more hands-on and they don't do as well with writing, there are other options. So when we did a unit kind of towards the middle, and on international trade, and so my daughter made an international dinner for us that week, and so that was one of the projects which she much preferred, instead of having to write a couple paragraphs. That she would rather go to the grocery store, research the food, read all the labels, and then come back home and do all that work, where some kids wouldn't, but at least it gave her that option. So then you get into the text, and it's about 3 to 4 pages each day of text. What we will do next year is do it every other day for my daughter. That's a bit taxing, and we even went back and forth. I read a paragraph, she read a paragraph, and that helps a little bit. Some of the words, because they're words that are used within the field of economics, they may be a bit difficult for your student, especially if they have a language delay or language disability. This is rather high-level reading, and even reading it out loud, some of the sentences were extremely long, and so that sometimes makes it difficult to understand the context. What is wonderful, though, about how this is written is there's lots of examples. Ray Notgrass includes a lot of, like, for instance, if you looked at it from this perspective and it was something that a student could relate to more in their own life, and then he translates it and how it would work into economics. And that made it really helpful for my daughter in trying to understand maybe some concepts that weren't so familiar to her. And so, and at the end of each lesson, it tells you what literature goes along with it. So if you are doing the English part of it, that will include the book and what pages to read. It'll also remind your student to work on their project. That's always good to have that reminder. And then the student review, which I went through the questions that you can discuss after there. And sometimes there's also additional reading, and that is in a separate book. And that is various things from history or historical documents that are referenced. And again, great pictures in this book. We ended up reading one that was kind of funny, and so my daughter laughed. It was translated from French, and she's been studying French for 4 years. So she really enjoyed that. But again, this is text that may be written in a way that your student, if they have a language disability, might be extremely difficult, and you may have to kind of pare it down for them, or stop and explain, or ask questions as you go along. But all in all, I was really impressed with this curriculum, and like I said, we are going to use it next year for my daughter for her high school credits for both English and and history, but we will be doing the audiobook portion instead of reading the first 3 books. Of course, like I said, I couldn't find the 4th one in an audiobook format. So so that's how we're going to modify it, at least that, and then also doing shared reading. But I think it'll push her a little bit. Again, if you have a student who has a language-based disability and may have difficulty with reading and understanding longer sentences, or just reading comprehension in general, this may be something that might be a little too difficult. Definitely look at the example though on notgrasshistory.com before you make that determination. But that's my review. Thank you, Notgrass History, for allowing me to do this review, and check out all the other reviews on our YouTube channel.